The following segment is sponsored by Daniel A. White and Associates. It does not necessarily reflect the views of WDEL or Forever Media.
The Rick Jensen Show on 101.7 FM, 1150 AM, WDEL, and streaming to your smart speaker and mobile device.
Well, I am a happy camper. I'm a happy client of Dan White and Associates. These are professionals here. Financial planners specializing in retirement income. I'm always glad to have Dan on right after the news at 1:30 on Wednesdays. Dan, Rick, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Rick. How about yourself?
All right, man. So every Wednesday you call with a nice tip. What do you have for us today?
Today we're going to talk about the still working exception as far as it applies to required minimum distributions.
You know, that's really important because, I'm going to interrupt, but that is important because there's so many thousands and thousands of Delawareans and millions of people around the country who say, I can't afford to retire. I have to work. And then you turn the age that you're going to tell us about, and you're still working, and you have some retirement money, and you have to take it out. But people are working like 75 years old for as long as it takes because the economy is so rough right now, right?
Yeah, you see it quite a bit. More and more people are working longer, some because they want to and some because they have to. But what happens is when you turn 73, after the Secure Act 2.0 was passed late last year, when you turn 73, that's the RMD age now, and there's really no exceptions with IRAs or simple IRAs. So the exception I'm going to talk about, the still working exception, is an optional plan design feature available on many 401k plans. If you're not more than a 5% owner of the company and you're still working and you're contributing to the 401k plan, it allows a person to delay the RMDs on the plan dollars until April 1st of the year after they separate from service. So if you're 75 years old but you're still working and contributing to that 401k, you're not required to take a minimum distribution from that plan until you stop working. So we actually had a situation recently where we had a client who was 80 years old and he was still working when he died. He was not more than a 5% owner of the company, and as such, he was not taking any required minimum distributions from the plan at his death. Now, his beneficiary was his son, so the son could set up an inherited or a stretch IRA, and the way the rules work on that now, he has to have that empty by the end of 10 years after the father died.
Yeah.
But because the father was, even though he was 80 years old, see, if the father was not still working, he would have been taking RMDs, and then the son would have had to continue taking RMDs in years 2 through 9 and would have still had it empty by the end of the 10th year. But because the father was using the still working exception, he was not subject to RMDs, which means the son is not subject to RMDs either.
Oh, really? Wow, okay,
yes.
that's surprising, all right.
Yeah, it's a kind of a new wrinkle. They just kind of addressed it this year. So if the person who you inherit the IRA from was not taking RMDs legally, then you're not required to take RMDs. But if they were of RMD age and were not involved in this still working exception, in other words, they were required to take RMDs, then the beneficiary is going to have to take them over the 9 years and still have to have that bucket emptied by year 10.
Well, it's bipartisan, what I'm about to say. We know how some of these Congress critters work. You better take advantage of that now because that's not going to last. And they want the tax dollars. That's true. They want the tax dollars. That's remarkable.
It's funny though. They do on the inherited, but then on the regular IRAs and such, they're pushing the RMD out. So to me, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, you've testified.
Because on the one hand, you're saying we want the tax dollars, we want you to empty the bucket sooner.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, hey, you're 70, you're 71, you're 72. You don't have to take anything out.
You've been to Congress. You've talked to Congress critters down there. You know that you have to wash your shoes once you leave there. It's you know how that is. Hey,
it gets a little deep.
Yeah, right. A little deep there, pal. Wear your boots. But no, that's good. I had no idea. And I'll bet there's probably thousands of Delawareans who could benefit from that information, not even knowing it right now. Now, every Sunday morning at 7.
And even though, the other thing I want to mention, Rick, even though if the person you inherited it from is not of RMD age and you don't have to take an RMD, you still probably ought to think about taking something out during the first 9 years, because if you let it If you let it just accumulate until the end of the 10th year, then you're going to have to take out a lump sum and pay the tax all at once.
Well, how old do you have to be now to start taking out of your retirement accounts? I mean,
59 and a half.
No, when they force you, you say you have to start taking money out.
73.
So it's 73 years, and is that based upon any particular birth date now, or did they, kind of like Social Security and stuff, did they say, oh, okay, if you're born between this year and that year, you have to take it out at such an age, anything like that?
No, basically it's if you turn 73 in 2023, unless you are still working and subject to this exception, you better be taking a required minimum distribution out.
So it's 73. All right. Dan, you got a show here on WDEL, 1150 AM, 1017 FM, streaming live at WDEL.com. Sunday morning, 7 o'clock, on the money. What are we going to hear this Sunday?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Same type of topic. We're reviewing the required minimum distributions for 2023 and beyond, because the rules, like I said, they write them and then they kind of rewrite them.
Yeah, I know.
And there's a lot of confusion concerning the RMD, so we're going to be discussing them Sunday morning.
Well, you guys stay on top of this, which is why I always recommend to my friends, my family, my listeners, give them a call, 888-690-8820. Of course, I call the number. I call you guys all the time. It's 888-690-8820. Talk to them. They're not going to charge anything. Sit down and see if you might like working with these guys. And Dan White and Associates, that's it.
Thanks, Rick.
All right, Dan. Take care. Oh, and by the way, I know we're not saying go Phils anymore, but catchers and pitchers report in just a couple of months.
Yeah, 3 months. February will be here before you know. But now we'll go with Go Eagles.
All right, so I'll let you leave with that one. Go ahead, do it.
Go Eagles.
Eagles. All right, thanks, Dan.